This video will take you through the process of creating a high contrast portrait using a grid system to draw and painting in with acrylic paint. The method we will be using to scale and enlarge our drawing is called the XT grid system. Unlike most styles of scaling and enlarging an image, this way does not use any mathematical equations. Here I have a small stencil portrait of Wonder Woman. My objective is to take that small portrait and enlarge it onto this large piece of white Bristol board. Ultimately, I want to be able to draw Wonder Woman and have it look as accurate and perfect as possible. So to do that, I need to use a gridding system. When I'm doing my enlargement, I only need the information that's going to be on my final drawing. So if I have any excess white paper around my portrait, I want to take a pair of scissors and trim it off. You won't need that extra paper for anything, so you can toss that right in the garbage. The first thing we need to do is scale our image. I'm going to align the bottom right corner of Wonder Woman to the bottom right corner of my white drawing paper. Using a ruler, I'm now going to scale my image. So I'm going to draw a diagonal line through the Wonder Woman image, going from the bottom right corner to the upper left corner, and then extending the line off of the page. Wherever the line naturally goes off of my drawing paper is going to be the new upper left corner of my enlarged image. It is really important to see here that I did not try and line up the corner of Wonder Woman with the corner of my white drawing paper, so the paper I'm doing the enlargement on. Wherever the diagonal line goes off of the page is the new corner. I am aligning my ruler with the new corner and drawing a perfectly vertical line down to create the end of my image. This extra white strip of paper at the edge is eventually going to be cut off. It's excess. It's not part of my drawing area. Now that I have figured out how large my drawing area is going to be so that it's to scale, I need to create my grid system so I can enlarge the small image. Take your ruler and now continue the rest of that diagonal line from bottom right hand corner all the way to the new left hand corner. Now we're going to create a series of X's and T's or plus signs to divide our area up to create our grid. So here you can see I've completed the X with another diagonal line, and now I'm going to draw two lines, one horizontally through the X and then one perfectly vertical through the X up and down, and now I have my first X and T laid right on top of each other. Each of the lines that you've drawn are going to serve as a line that will provide a check and balance as you are drawing. The more grid lines you have, the more accurate you can be as you're doing your enlargement. I'm now going to take each small rectangle that I've created and complete the X inside each one of them. So there's a little diagonal line creating a small X. Here I go with the upper right corner from now corner to corner, creating that small X. Upper left hand corner. Okay, so completing that X. And then the bottom left hand corner, I go from corner to corner and complete the X just like that. And so I can take all of those X's now and break them down into smaller T's, smaller X's, smaller T's. The last step in the gridding process is now to do the same X and T grid on whatever image I want to enlarge. So in this case is my Wonder Woman. So here I am drawing the X through the corners, giving myself a vertical and horizontal line through the middle of the X, and then breaking each of those rectangles down further and further. Okay, so I'm basically giving myself the exact same grid that I did on my large white drawing paper. Now we can use the matching grids to enlarge our stencils. Reference your grid lines throughout the process of drawing. This will help to ensure that your enlargement is proportionally to scale and accurate. So where to start, right? That's such an important question. I would recommend choosing an area around the outside to start with. So somewhere that is not really complicated and also not crucial to the information of the face. So I started with Wonder Woman's hair. This is not the eyes, the nose, the mouth. All those areas are more complicated. Once you start to get the hang of it, you can move towards the middle of the portrait. Okay, so here I am now starting to work on that eye area. The eyes can be a little bit tricky, and they're also really important to get super, super accurate. These are places where you might want to add a couple more grid lines. So you can see that I've kind of given myself the T bar across or through that X, and I've broken it down a little bit more, and that gives me more lines that I can check myself with. So here you can see I kind of messed up a little bit, so I'm just erasing and adjusting as I'm going. More than likely, you are not going to do the entire portrait perfectly all the way through. There is going to be erasing and adjusting. So that's all part of the process, even though you don't see me doing a lot of that in the video. If I kept that in, the video would have been like 2 hours long. So just take that into consideration as you're watching. Here I am now working on another part that's a little bit tricky. So the big star in the middle of Wonder Woman's head, right? This is super hard to just freehand in there. So I'm giving myself more check lines, breaking down the grid. And so anywhere that's kind of complicated, give yourself more check lines to base your drawing against. I have a phrase that I use a lot of times in the classroom, and that is the grid never lies. So if something is kind of looking funky, break the grid down, check it against the stencil, and if something looks off, more than likely it is off. But the grid will help you figure out where you went wrong and then how to adjust your drawing to make it super accurate. Once the drawing is complete, you can erase all of your grid lines. If you erase any parts of your facial features, you can do like what I'm doing here, just going in and touching up with a pencil. All right, my drawing looks good and my grid lines are erased. I'm ready to start the painting portion. Choose 2 colors that you want to paint in your portrait. One color is going to be for all of the black area, and the other color is going to be all for the white area. When choosing the 2 colors that you're going to do your portrait in, make sure that they are contrasting. So you want the colors to be very, very different from one another. This illustration will show you what good contrasting color schemes look like and what bad contrasting color schemes look like. Remember, you're looking for 2 colors that are going to stand out against one another. Choose one of the colors to begin with and begin painting in the entire area. So I'm starting with my black area, and I'm using like a dark ultramarine blue, and I have my stencil right next to me as I'm working, and I'm just going around and painting in all of the black area now in with that blue. I have my stencil close by so that I can reference it as I'm painting. It is a little bit confusing to remember what part is white and what part is black if you don't have your stencil with you, so make sure you don't throw that away or lose it before you complete the entire project. As you are working, make sure you're using a variety of brushes. So areas that are large, use like a wider or larger paintbrush. And areas that are small, you're going to use a smaller paintbrush. So you want to choose the size of the brush that fits the size of the area that you're painting. My first coat of blue is applied, and so I'm going to move on to now painting my white area with color number 2. As you're working with color number 2, you just want to be really careful of the lines that you are already painted with color number 1, and make sure you're just working really slowly around them so you don't mess up any of the work that you've already done, and still using the same principles that we were doing before. So choosing large brushes for large areas, smaller brushes for smaller areas. So now that my base coats are pretty much complete, you'll see me now working with a really itty bitty brush and kind of going in and adding my small details. So on my high contrast stencil image, there was a lot of like tiny details you can see like around the eye and around the hair, almost like little dots or dabs of color. So now I can go back in and add those on top of like whatever color I had underneath, and just kind of like touch up. So if you have a lot of tiny areas, you can do that also. So just putting some final finishing touches on my Wonder Woman, and there she is, all complete. Now it's your turn. Give it a try. Can't wait to see your paintings.